All right, Jordan, Collin, welcome back to Grimerica. Thanks for spending some more time with us. How you doing?
Hey guys, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back on.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, we're looking forward to it because I met you in person at the Cosmic Summit, which was great, and had a little bit of time to chat there. But since then, Darren was in the UK somewhere, and I was, at the Cosmic Summit. But sort of like time, part of your presentation kind of clicked with both of us. So I wanted to have you on fairly
Cool.
soon so we could kind of maybe keep keep on that while it's fresh in our head. But just as far as like, because I've never really been able to wrap my head around how time is connected with sacred geometry and all that. So yeah,
Yeah. These hyperspatial ideas are not easy to visualize because you can't really. But this
exactly.
does give us somewhat of a key to that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
hope.
so that's why I thought it was really interesting that that's kind of what your presentation was on. So, but before that, I
Mhm.
mean, we don't have to get too like deep into drama or anything like that about the summit. But as far as like being there, sort of as as Malcolm Bendall, one of his students, and looking at the technology, were you pretty happy with the results of the testing and stuff like that?
Yeah, look, it went really well. Obviously, there was sabotage on the main machine, which I won't even get into, but you've probably seen the video that I've
Yeah,
done on that, and there
yeah,
was obviously some reasons behind that. But otherwise, it worked fine because the thunderstorm generator part can be preconditioned. Like if you run it for even maybe like 20 minutes, a couple hours, then the plasmoids will embed themselves in the spheres, particularly in these new annealed spheres, where the cubic structure of the ion just really encourages them to stay in there and continue to do work. So that worked out fine, and the test results worked anyway, despite that. And then they had the plasmoid Chevy retrofit there that two Australian brothers just built from my DIY build guide, which was cool. And so they did trials on that, and they turned out well as well. There was like a slight issue with the build, but nothing that ruined the results still. So yeah, they went really well despite all of the controversy and all of the bullshit. And yeah, we've still got a lot more footage to come
So
of
can
that
you
as
just
well.
can you describe to people like they've heard us kind of we talk about it sort of every week depending on what's going on. I kind of update everybody so people kind of know a little bit about it. But you want to just in your own description describe to people what's happening here with this technology?
Yeah, sure. So the one we're talking about is the Thunderstorm generator, because I know Malcolm's got a couple plans out there, including the direct matter to energy
Matter,
drive, which is kind of the next step. But the Thunderstorm generator is a retrofit for standard combustion engines, coal power plants, nuclear potentially. Malcolm says it is. I don't think it's been tried yet, but there's no reason. Essentially, anything that has an exhaust output with something that you want to get rid of, particularly there does need to be a percentage of carbon, seemingly about 10%, was what Bob Grenier said based on other experiments in the output. Or this can be added in, or obviously we've got enough carbon around in some of the polluted cities, particularly in the east, to be, playing around with. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue. But it converts the output to a much higher ratio of oxygen, reduces the carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrocarbons, and nitrous oxide down significantly, pretty much to zero when it's working properly and well, and plasmoids are being continued to be generated in the bubbler, because the effect won't last forever if you're just using an infused thunderstorm generator, which is just the two metal spheres part. Like you can infuse it for a bit, but it won't last forever. So ideally you need the ionizer. Well, the ionizer, we don't know, how much of a difference that makes. It does make some difference, but whether or not you need this extra unit of the system is actually entirely questionable. But the bubbler you do want. That's where the water bubble cavitation happens. So essentially you're just creating a very large spectrum of bubbles, ideally very small ones, and they need to be symmetrical. But as Bob Grenier says, this is just about, creating a wide, as large a spectrum of bubbles as you can, like this different sizes, because then you're going to hit some of the right points. So that's what they're doing with the steel wool and the porous air stone in the bubbler. This gets pulled through into the next phase of the system, the thunderstorm generator, the Vajra, and you've got this cold stream meeting an opposing hot stream coming from the exhaust, and this creates this thunderstorm concept, hence the name, where this cold stream of plasmoids and water vapor is opposing the hot exhaust stream, opposing vortexes, which the Vajra encourages that flow pattern, but that's also the natural flow pattern. So this is what Marco Rodin, the mathematician, vortex-based maths, was talking about when he was saying creating those paths of least resistance, the way that nature already wants to flow. So Malcolm's literally replicating the form and function of a thunderstorm, and he's creating a device based on these ratios. That's where the maths comes in, and where we're looking at time. And of course, Malcolm views this all from the perspective of time, which is why I particularly study his work. There is a lot of other stuff on it, which I'm going through as well. I'm going through over to Brno in Czech Republic next month to help Bob go through Dr. Matsumoto's archives, the Japanese ball lightning researcher. So I am studying some other stuff, but Malcolm's stuff's awesome because he describes it in terms of time, which I think is the fundamental thing along with geometry here.
Right.
This is what makes up frequency.
So I mean,
what we experience.
Yeah. Which I'm looking forward to getting into a little bit. But I was there when they did the base model test, when you could smell the terrible exhaust, and then I was also there when they had when it was pretty obvious when the thunderstorm generator was attached and it was burning a lot cleaner. So when people, so it's pretty obvious to me that something's going on. I mean, I just can't explain it really, which I'm okay with. But what do you say to people like that are still very skeptical, and people? I mean, there was a lot of people still even skeptical at the conference too,
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, one of the independent investigators that came, he was very, very skeptical. I mean, he was repeating something from someone else, which I'm kind of happy to say because he was, and he was of the opinion that it was, essentially just a cheap, effective catalytic converter, which. I've got no reason to deny this because that would be a good thing. This would be essentially an invention that no one has any concerns with. There's no risk in talking about a cheap catalytic converter. It's just not made of, expensive minerals that we have to mine, stuff we already have. The problem is it's not that. It is a ball lightning device. This is denying the last year of the research by Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, which has shown, and Bob is sticking by his comment, that this is categorically ball lightning in this machine. Like, there's absolutely no denying it. You got 4 quadrillion microspheres, which are produced by this phenomena. Like, they don't come from anywhere else. They're not in any other machine. So unfortunately, it just doesn't line up. We've got the carbon dating, and there's more ratio testing going on. So I'm just kind of leaving it. If people want to think that, it doesn't matter. That just means the invention will be commercialized quicker, and no one will be freaking out about ball lightning flying out of these things. So that's fine, but it's not the truth. I'm open source, independent. I've been going on about it for about a year. Everyone can see my videos, so I'm not going to change my narrative for that.
Well, wasn't Bob saying like if it just acts as a catalytic converter, that's fine. If the bubbler doesn't end up sort of doing anything?
It doesn't affect the rollout of the invention. It's just simply people don't want you to know about plasmoids. It is that simple. There were multiple factions there at the summit that had their own narratives, and for the most part, they didn't do a lot, but they were there.
But Bob's doing quite a bit for it, though, isn't he?
But Bob's honest. He's independent and genuine, and he's in a bit of a position where, it's not really for me to say, but you'll notice that his story changed maybe a week before the summit, and he went along with something else. And I've spoken to Bob since, and he's sticking by his statement. This is categorically ball lightning. However, he says one step at a time, and essentially he's been threatened. That's
right.
Yeah. So he's all right. Give him time.
Yeah.
He's an honest guy, and he will come out with the truth, I'm sure.
Well, he seems to be very good at distilling all the information down to everybody. All the stuff that he's working with and Malcolm's stuff, and he seems to be very And he's also got that sort of spiritual side as well, which fascinates me. Like I love the fact that Malcolm and him both have you know, a sort of a spiritual outlook on life, not coming from a materialistic perspective, you know.
Yeah, no, it's kind of necessary, isn't it? And he does, yeah.
So what about the fuel efficiency then? Because I was talking to somebody there that seemed to make that he didn't even make it properly, but he made it on his generator the point that he thinks it's doing better fuel wise.
Was that Philip who made the one that was tested on Saturday? The one with the blue.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he brought it there. No.
Oh, okay. It was another guy. Yeah. So there was about 10 different guys who built Thunderstorm generators turn up, which was really cool. One guy built 6. I'm not allowed to say who he is because he's keeping them private, but he's got them on his tractors and stuff.
Really?
And yeah. And then we have one guy, Philip. He bought his, and it didn't go that well, but mainly because he put the pipe kind of right under the fuel tank, which gets really, really hot. And so after a while, when we noticed that, we were like, oh, okay, let's just leave that. And he was like, okay, I'm going to make some adjustments to my build. And then the Plasmoid Chevy guys, like I said, they were just 2 Australian mechanics that saw the build guide, went out, put one together. They saw plasmoids flying out of the spheres right at the start. So he was like, all right, I'm going to pursue that further. I've got that footage to post with an interview with them probably today or tomorrow. Anyway, I think I'm going into some other stuff.
No. Was the size of the Thunderstorm generator? Did it match the truck properly? Was there a concern over the?
It was a bit small. Yeah, that's why they were seeing their unit overcharged. And there was also like a constriction with the exhaust where I think they put like a 1-inch pipe onto the 2-inch pipe, so you were actually only getting like half the, or like quite a pressurized exhaust stream. I'm not exactly sure, but I know that there was some issue there. But test still worked fine. The first one was a bit shaky, but then after they warmed it up on the second one, they got pretty close to 0 carbon and much higher oxygen, about 20%.
What about this tractor guy then? Was that like he's functionally using some right now?
Yep, he's got his welder to just make them up. He's using those. Met a bunch of other guys. One guy had made one from like some kind of like a vacuum cleaner for the pulsing, and then he was just using like a wood fire, literally just outside, and he was doing something with that. So Malcolm was talking about I might try and retrofit one to my fireplace as well. We're going to see how that goes. And there was another guy who he really knew his stuff. Hopefully I can catch up with him and find out more about his build, but he actually had some good advice for the other people that were there. I can't remember his name, I'm afraid, but anyway, there was a bunch of people that built Thunderstorm generators, and that was cool.
So what was the tractor guy seeing more fuel efficiency? Is that what he was saying? Or?
Yeah. He was just they worked just as they should. I think I posted the fuel consumption trial that they did just after Cosmic Summit. Which was about 20% fuel efficiency increase. Yeah.
I was kind of hoping for more than that. I was kind of hoping for like 66 or something, like 2/3 type thing, or 1/3 even. But I mean, you never know.
Maybe I think we're just going to wait for everyone else's results to come out, and we might see those.
Yeah, exactly. Or even doubling or tripling it. I mean, like it would be nice to see something like that. So what about
you will see those results. Yeah.
What about the smoke testing then? So at the end, like I think Phil got his way. Phil and Bob got his way, which credit to Malcolm that he allowed these guys to do their own testing, like do not their own, but to just do different.
To do what they wanted to do, and that was fine. I think there's a misunderstanding that test somehow bothered me. It was more about Phil talking shit about us all weekend than that. So I was kind of lightly reprimanding him there, but the smoke test was no problem. I mean, it's a vortex machine. That's exactly what it is claimed to do. So of course, Phil's claim was that I believe, and I'll post the footage in full so everyone can kind of see what they were. It's not just me saying it, but they were saying, well, if it's pulling in air there, then that, fucks with the credibility of gas analyzed testing at that point. Thing is, it's already been trialed at a bunch of different points. Like there was 2 points on that generator alone, and then there was the claim that might be messing with it, but every other unit hasn't had that, number one. So that's not the issue, the 2 measuring points. And also it's been measured coming right out of the point, right after the Vajra as well, and at the engine, and multiple other points as well. So it's kind of just, that's why I was a bit bothered by those claims, because they don't take into account any of the other stuff going on. Neither the point that you cannot go and just jam something on the end of the unit. It is a machine that functions on geometry and resonance, and you can't go and bang things onto it willy-nilly. Malcolm said you can put a curved pipe on the end, then you'll follow the natural flow, and you can do that, but putting a straight pipe on is not going to produce an accurate or reliable result as per the inventor's claims. So that was the controversy over those tests, and why I was just a little bit like, all right, I'm going to let Malcolm give his response and not just post these as is, because otherwise, I genuinely think it misleads people.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Yeah. I mean, I do like how Malcolm started using the analogy like that's a violin. Like it's like a musical instrument in a way, right? It's
and it is
kind of like you can't just throw things on it and expect it to operate the same way.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is people need to actually listen to that. He is the inventor. He made the machine. He's got extensive notes about this. Phil went and worked on the machine, and I'm not here to bitch about him. I'm sorry, Phil, whatever, man. Like, I don't care. But he went and worked on the machine for months. He never read any of this stuff. He never followed any of this stuff. I'd been hearing these stories for months, and we just kind of let it go. And then for him to come and do that, I was quite offended. And
just the timing of the conference.
Couldn't be bothered with it. It was very suspicious. I'll say that much. Yeah,
because it's at the conference where people are showing up, a whole bunch of people that have made this stuff. Like it's just that it's probably
that put the pressure on.
Yeah.
It's the fact that 10 guys turned up. And they were ready. They were waiting there. Like, everyone was a bit tense. They were waiting for someone to come out and be like, "Here's the debunking," and they were going to be like, "Hey, we've actually seen it working, mate." Like, so it didn't really happen like that. Like I say, there was no problem with those tests. Fair enough that he wanted to do them. Not a big deal, but it was done with a bit of ill intent, and no one was really thrilled about that.
Okay, Based Taz. I don't know if you're an old buddy of Based Taz or something, or if this is just the way you Aussies call each other stuff. But he was like old mate Jordan, so I don't know what that means.
We're all old mates over here.
Okay. So Based Taz says, "Where's the question now? Can you please ask about HP increase as related to the fuel efficiency?" So I guess he's talking about horsepower to the fuel efficiency, but. And, he's also talking about he's just describing it in his own way as well. Think star in a jar, but much smaller. It creates plasma, which becomes stable, coherent, and lasting. Bendel calls them plasmoids, essentially micro ball lightning. But yeah, you can answer that horsepower question.
Yeah, that's all accurate. I don't know about the horsepower. There is an increase, whether it's been measured or not. I suspect it will in the UK certified tests that Malcolm said will be published this week. They were done last week. They've already been completed. I don't know entirely what it entailed, but they did have a fuel consumption trial. So I don't know if that's been measured. I will hopefully be going over to see the machines again myself I won't say when, but soon. Cool. And so, maybe I'll be able to do a lot of this stuff.
Cool.
Been asking. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I want to get Darren to jump in here and ask some questions too. But while I'm thinking of it, like as far as the modern alchemical kind of process that's going on here, like this is being transmuted to oxygen. Why oxygen? Is that part of the resonance? Like, has he designed it that way, or is oxygen the next default that happens?
Well, Malcolm uses the proton counts to explain it, and you can see a little bit of this in the video I did in December on covering Bob's transmutation. I think it's called like transmutation in the Thunderstorm generator, or plasmoid transmutation, or something about that. And that shows you can literally add up the isotopes, which shows again these numbers are integrally related. This language of mathematics is there even in particle theory, which I don't actually go by, and so I'm not the best one to really describe the stepwise transmutation process as probably people would like me to describe it. I mean, it's a matter of time for me. Like, essentially, once you strip it, you've got a certain amount of energy that's going to reform into what's most convenient. And in this case, it's well, yeah, you've got all of these. You've got hydrogen 111. You've got carbon 666. You've got well, that's, I guess, primarily what you've got from the water vapors. You've got oxygen 888, and you get oxygen out. You can mathematically add it up.
Can I jump in there? Because I swear to God, that is the part that Terrence was supposed to explain to Joe and Eric that he didn't get to. It's that when you take away those spheres, it leaves that he was modeling the empty space, like that space that gets filled up with energy, or when that's where the transmutation happens. Did you happen to see that at all?
I actually haven't watched it yet, but I will. I mean, like, the way I put it is, the alchemists, and as well as Tesla and Maxwell Planck and sorry, yeah, is that who I'm thinking of? Yeah, him and who's the other Maxwell? The other one, Heaviside, Tesla, Ken Wheeler, Malcolm, even Einstein. If you go by his work before he got funded to say that it wasn't real, there's the ether, there's a medium. The Greeks knew it, the Indians knew it, everyone knew it. There's a medium with which this is all happening. That's DC, what Malcolm calls DC. It's not moving. It's just potential energy, unlimited. You've got AC, everything's a perturbation. This is where we can measure everything using frequency and see that it's formed from a coherent geometry, which creates that frequency, creates that timing. Time is the mold in which matter is formed. Malcolm was quoting, which is apparently also a quote from a guy called Kosyrev, who I haven't read yet, but he was a Russian time researcher. So I've got to catch up on his stuff. Walter Russell explains the same thing, but essentially, like, these are cavitations. It's like when we see a bubble in water. This is, suddenly we've got something polarized. We've got polarity. This means there's a timing happening there. This is what's occurring in this medium of the ether. We're getting all of these elements, hydrogen, helium, all of these. It can be brought back to base energy, essentially. We form a thunderstorm. The energy is already there. Like, people think you're creating a 0 point, you're pulling energy out of the ether. We're not pulling energy out of the ether. We're in the ether right now. It's just in motion all around us. But we can bring this back to its DC potential using two opposing vortexes once it passes through that plane of inertia. So it's actually about creating that geometric structure, right? Once you've got that structure, it's going to utilize the energy and reform it into something cohesive. And that's when you'll either get, Bob shows in his O-Day videos, a nuclear bomb being dropped above the ground. It creates this toroidal, hyperboloidal inverse form, the two opposing vortexes. And then you can see it pulling matter up, pulling, just the space around it in a set of, it's obviously not really space, the fabric of reality around it in, and then just creating this constant stream of energy. Because it's not just an explosion, it doesn't just go boom and it's done. It just keeps feeding. And it's because the geometry of that vortex has been established. So you're not pulling it out of the ether or in the ether, but we're seeing it in movement. And so that everything has a frequency, like Tesla said. All of the elements do. This is what Terence Howard was talking about when he was talking about Walter Russell's model of the elements, which is what Malcolm's plasmoid unification model is pretty much fundamentally based on for all of the elemental stuff. And I'm reading Walter Russell's The Universal One at the moment because I've held off looking into his work. I didn't really understand how important it was to all of this until recently. And I'm like, oh, that's got all of the elemental stuff. So I'm kind of catching up on that now. And hopefully those will be my next set of videos. But cool. I get the basics,
How far in are you? I'm like, I think I'm about halfway through.
I'm not that far. I'm like only a couple
the other one, though, aren't you?
What's that?
You're reading the other
the universal one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, universal one seems to be the starting point. That's his cosmology and his elemental ideas. It's got those two tables in it. Good read. He knew what he's doing. He's also got some children's books that he wrote for adults, and they're very good. They bring you back.
Children's books for adults?
Yeah.
Interesting. I Yeah, it is pretty good. I find it's a little fluffy. It's probably it could use a
Yeah,
little,
yeah, a little bit.
but it's got
I
like
think his wife forced him into publishing it. Like he kind of written it for himself to some extent, and then yeah, he got pushed into publishing it later. So
yeah, in some ways it's almost got like a bit of a David Dita's Way of the Superior Man twist to it. Where it's just like, oh my god, man, okay, I got it.
Yeah, he gives a bit of an Ayn Rand style spiel on genius at the start. About the suppressed geniuses, but they all put that in the beginning.
I was actually I was just listening to the Dim Ages by, I forget his name, but he has a whole chapter on Ayn Rand, which is great. She's one of my favorite authors, probably one of the best.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, big fan.
So you listen to
artist.
Yeah, did you listen to the and people hate her that have never even read her. That's the thing.
They assume you're some kind of like, I don't know, yeah, like libertarian mania. I guess I am. That's why.
That's why we are, but we are.
Maybe even a little further than that. So you listened to the first Terrence Howard, obviously.
Yeah, I did watch that one. Yeah. No.
So he was talking about.
Good.
He was talking with a lightning gun. Can this thunderstorm generator? Can we saw that off at some point to create that sort of thing? Or those two things?
I wouldn't know, Darren. I wouldn't know about lightning guns. You'd have to try that out. Not recommending it.
Out of a thunderstorm generator?
Well, I don't know. You could certainly direct energy in all sorts of ways you wanted if you understood how plasmoids worked.
Interesting. Can it be weaponized easily?
No.
Well, I mean,
look, if it has been, there's that, but can it be weaponized in the form that we're propagating it? No.
I'm trying to find the quote that I should have had it ready because I knew we were going to do this show, but here it is. Holding a dorje. And so I'm narrating the Tibetan Book of the Dead right now, and this Vajra, the dorje, they call it the dorje too. Have you heard it been called that?
Nope.
No, and it's they've got a picture of it in here and everything, and it comes up constantly when you're going through these levels of the bardo after death, and you meet these deities that are part of your subconscious, and they have like the Vajra in their hand, and they call it the thunderbolt. Like he's got basically the thunderbolt weapon in his hand. I mean, they mention it in the Tibetan Book of the Dead over and over. I couldn't believe it.
Wow. Yeah. Look, I keep getting random messages from people all over the world. Like, like my wife found this inscribed in a jungle when she was a kid and like has been trying to figure it out. And there was a lady who had some Vajra earrings at the summit. And it's like, they turn up everywhere. And then, it's really there. It's like you go back, like I say, Vedic scriptures, it's all there. Talks all about the Vajra made of the bones of Maharaj Dadichi, given to Indra to save the earth from the demons. It's all there. Zeus is holding it.
I wonder if it's related to that little purse that all those dudes are carrying around all the time. Little bag. They got that little bag. All the motherfuckers all over Egypt. Okay. They all got that bag, man.
Look, I don't know what they have in their bag, but surely some tricks.
Well, it seemed like they were clearly flying around. Flying around from.
They were flying around. Yeah, they were definitely flying around.
In Vimanas.
In the Vimanas, yeah. Praveen Mohan was there at the Cosmic Summit. Did you guys happen to catch his?
I did, yeah. I did, yeah.
Cool, yeah. No, he's tried to build some of this stuff as well. So he made some nice comments about
the
whole ordeal. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Darren's just a hunter. He wants weapons. It's crazy. He's just. Here it is. Here.
I don't want to give those to you, man.
Here's one here. Oh, nobly born, there will dawn from the east the dark brown yak-headed Rakasha goddess holding a dorje and a skull.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
There's a whole bunch of references about this.
Yeah. I believe it. I haven't heard that before, the dorje.
Yeah. So, Darren, do you have any other questions besides how to weaponize this technology? I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, I don't know. What did you think about the test at the summit? Because I've gotten 50-50 results. Graham's sort of all in, and then I got some other feedback from some other people that were like, well, it really smelled like exhaust, and I'm not
What?
sure what was going on. Yeah, this is,
No.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't get that feedback. Like, it was all positive. I mean, a few people came and told me once again that there was someone going around saying all sorts of stuff, but all I can say is there was plenty of people there. I've got it all on film, and I'm publishing it. You can see the test results. I smelled the difference. I don't know, Graham, you mentioned you did. I don't know. I can only let people decide for themselves at that point. I'm open sourcing everything and being honest about it. And even the stuff that is supposedly negative, I'm open sourcing. So people can make their decisions. There was enough people there that had built one, enough people there that were there to see one, that I'm confident that it doesn't really matter what I say now. We're going to see plenty of results coming from others to back it up.
Do you think this tech's like about to be rolled out then?
Yeah. It's been licensed in several more countries since, as far as I'm aware. I mean, I met a number of people. One guy who had full manufacturing and production facilities in the West to do it. As far as I'm aware, it is being mandated in India at some point. I don't know when, but yeah, licensed several more places. So it's going to get rolled out. There's no doubt about that. Because like I say, even if they want to tell the mainstream it's just a cheap catalytic converter, then, well, that's more sellable than a plasmoid generation device. So either way, people are going to see the technology, even if they don't know what it is. Hopefully they'll know what it is. It's what we're going to push for.
Okay, so I got another
I don't know who
question.
talked to you, Darren, about that. I mean, I hope it's not who I thought it might be, because I mean, when it was running with the stuff, it wasn't smelling. I mean, it's
Well, I mean, I'll forward you. I got emails,
Major
and
difference.
I got definitely some feedback from people that said it's it smells like this or it smells like that. And I wasn't there, so I don't even know why they're emailing me. To be perfectly honest, but
because they know I'm all in, I guess, and they want to give.
They know Graham's all in. They know he's already on. So I got another question. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. But the other main sort of feedback that
just
we got.
Frozen up.
What's that? Can you hear me, Graham?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you both. But Jordan's been freezing up video wise.
Okay, I've got you back. I can see you now. Yep.
So I gotta ask this because it's what the YouTube video got a ton of views, and the chat we did, you were on last time with Bendall, and the dude just sort of casually dropped that he was the king of Scotland, and this sort of been coming up, and it's like, it kind of muddies the waters though in some way, don't you think? Like, I mean, like
people don't like it, sure,
No,
yeah. But I mean, that's the thing, is people don't like any of this. What can I say? It's Malcolm's claims can be verified, and they're wild. He's lived an interesting life,
but I don't think he's saying. I don't think he's saying, like. I think we have to be careful of context. I don't think he's saying he's the king of Scotland now. It said he's in the bloodline or something, I think is what he's saying.
Yeah, he's in the bloodline. They've said that, that he could be crowned. But of course, all of this is quite muddy. There probably is, another 100 people out there who potentially are in these bloodlines. So it's not. It sounds like a pretty incredible claim, and it is an incredible claim. Which can be apparently backed up if someone wants to visit Iona and talk to the priests there. But yeah, what can I say? He's King Malcolm V.
King Malcolm V, and and also like
Plasmoid infusee.
Yeah, and the King of Tasmania too, I think.
King of Tasmania. Yeah.
That's a lot of titles. That's
great grandfather of
the Mohicans too.
Yep, these things, they condense. They condense into one renegade Australian man.
Is there any metaphor there, or is this all like, because I mean it is a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in, and with alongside the tech. It's almost like we better if some of that stuff was just left at the door, and then
people would be so happy. Yeah, they would be, but it's just it can't be, unfortunately. Like, this is genuinely the way. You know, I've been talking to Malcolm for like close to a year now, and his story doesn't change. This is who he is, and this is genuinely how he's realized the stuff. You know, I've spoken for hours and hours and hours about the science. You know, I don't question him too much on you know, the really far out stuff, because there's so much stuff that I can verify, and I've just verified again and again and again and again what this guy's saying, and he continues to make these claims. And I know it's confusing, because from the outside, like, you're looking at it and you're just like, what is going on here? But I mean, unfortunately, legends are true, you know, and this opens up a whole lot more than science. There is this spiritual aspect, and that brings into question whether we've just been here for one lifetime or whether we've been here for many lifetimes, and we're back for another spin. And then, of course, sometimes you can remember things. Sometimes, you know, if we just look at let me share the frequency spectrum here.
Yeah. Get here. I'll put it up there.
So we're using these slides.
Is it your presentation or? Oh
yeah, here it is. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. All right. So, I mean,
it's not working.
We're living. Oh, it's not coming up.
No. Can you?
That's right. I forget what.
Aaron, do you know why it's not? It doesn't seem to be on our screen, but
I can try present it.
Yeah,
again.
Try again.
Oh,
I'm gonna remove. Okay, now try. Yeah. Oh, maybe I don't know why, but it was left there out, and for some reason it wasn't catching it. Okay, let's see here. Uh-oh. Darren, why is this not working? We did a test before we started and everything.
I don't know.
Anyway, it's not a big deal.
It's not showing now, like, it doesn't show me a thing down in the box either. It shows it as all white, you know?
Yeah. Okay, there it is. There it is. That's the one I took.
We got it?
Oh, Darren and I both. Oh no, now it's not going on again.
It's not going to work.
What?
Okay, try it once more. This is really weird. It's right there, and yet it's just not coming up on the screen.
I wonder, does it allow me to? Yeah, no, it doesn't. Anyway. Well, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I can paint you a picture with words.
Okay, let's do a word painting.
All right. So visualize. Close your eye. No, you don't have to. The frequency spectrum. You know, we start at like at least our reference point as humans, 0 hertz, 0 to 4 hertz. We've got the delta brainwave spectrum. You know, just as you go into sleep, you can chuck an EEG scanner on, and you'll be able to read that your brainwaves are the emissions that you're picking up. These electrical signals are at 0 to 4 hertz. What's that mean? Like, the neurons are literally resonating at 0 to 4 hertz. You know, you've got theta 5 to 8 hertz, alpha 8 to 13 hertz, beta 14 to 30 hertz, gamma 30 hertz plus. And, you know, the work of Joe Dispenza, Wim Hof, shows that, you know, you're getting like up to over 2000 hertz. So we have this huge control over the human brain. But obviously that's like a bandpass filter, right? Like, these are just these are the thoughts we can think, you know, like, this is what we are picking up with that sense that is our brain. You got human hearing spectrum, 20 to 20,000 hertz. You've got the visible light spectrum from 400 to 790 terahertz. And so that's going to be, oh, cool. You got it up there. Yeah, you can see that.
I took a picture of your presentation, and this is what I got.
Nice one. Yeah, that's exactly the one. So yeah, 400 to 790 terahertz visible light spectrum. This is what we're seeing, you know. So once again, we've got this bandpass filter. Our eyes can only see those frequencies. You're not going to hear the visible light spectrum. You're not going to see the musical scale. So they're like just dividing this up. But look how much more there is of the frequency spectrum. We've got obviously all of like the radio frequency bands, We've got X-rays and nuclear and all these really fast frequencies on the other end. We don't have sensors to pick up those necessarily. I mean, some people do seem to develop some sorts of sensors, but they're all occurring, right? You know, it's like, this should be a signal to us that we are not seeing all of reality, like, you know, not even close to it. And we don't even seem to understand it at all because we don't understand it in these terms. And this is incredibly simple to understand, right? Like it's just a scale, 0 to whatever. And then that's just a frame of reference. You can go and apply this to any much slower frequencies. You know, we've got matter, which is really slow. Contraction, things slowing down, expansion, things speeding up. Like, this is how it kind of relates to time. It's because all of it relies on timing. Frequencies just work over time, kind of velocity, I guess, you know, over time. I don't know if that's correct technically, but it sounds right. Speed over time, the force over time. But obviously, you know, this should lead us on to go, well, you know, if this is all we're observing and we're just viewing everything through these bandpass filters, who's viewing it? And can we have access to, you know, further, you know, the entire frequency spectrum? Like, I would claim that every ancient culture and secret society and religious order was correct, that there are 3 bodies. We've got a physical body, we've got a subtle body, we've got a conscious body. So we're going to live after this lifetime, you know. We have lived many lives. We can remember some of this stuff, at least vaguely, and we can pick up on plenty of other stuff going on as well. I've met plenty of scientists who've had downloads. Pretty much all of the good ones have, you know, visualized their work in some way or just had some moment. You know, Malcolm genuinely went on an island and, you know, prayed, fasted, meditated for 40 days. And that's how he realized this. You know, he saw a remarkable stillness that allowed him to observe nature calmly and actually see what was going on, which I think we can all find. You know, they go on. This is why I think Walter Russell and Ayn Rand, they go on about geniuses all dying before they're 12, and this kind of, you know, inspiring the individual to kind of try and do great things, because we do have it in us. You know, we say that polymath is just, you know, an unachievable kind of level of genius. It's not. You know, it's like, it's just seeing through all the compartmentalized bullshit, being able to observe nature, bring this form and function into this reality. But we can draw a lot of conclusions, like that we're not going to die, that we are plasmoids.
Let's try that screen share. See if it works.
Okay.
Here's hoping.
You can do it, Darren.
I can do that. I'll do it so we don't go back and forth.
Yeah.
It's not looking good.
I can see it.
I cannot.
You can see it on the screen? Try and move it around, or try and change slides or something.
See that?
Try and share
there it is. Yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
You can see it?
I can see it.
You betcha. Yeah.
All right. Oh, look at that. We've got all of the 2D geometry, and we can see how all of these cosmic numbers are there while we're on that slide.
1,440 minutes in a day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And we can see that right there. 24 hours, 1,440 minutes, 86,400 seconds. 864,000 is miles, is the diameter of the sun. 43,200 seconds in 12 hours, 432,000 miles. There's the radius of the sun. We've got,
okay, wait. Can you go over that?
Up.
Can you say that again? And where are you getting that? Is that on here somewhere?
Yeah, that's on this one. So you'll see if you go, you know, what do we got? 31,104,000 seconds, 2,592,000 seconds. You remember?
Oh, maybe we're not.
Great year.
Maybe we're not. I don't think we're on that slide here.
Okay, maybe you didn't get the update. All right. Well, I don't know where we are.
Okay, there we go. Okay, thanks. Now I'm looking. I just wanted to follow along while watching. So.
Yeah. No. Sure. Are you seeing traditional systems of measurement?
We're seeing divisions of time right now.
Okay, I'll go back there. You're a bit behind.
Yeah, weird.
Hopefully, it'll probably flick through some other slides in a moment. We'll be quick. Can you see in that last column? You got 31,104. Sorry, 31,104,000 seconds.
Yes.
Yep, and then 2,592,000 seconds and 720 hours.
Yeah.
24 hours, 86,400 seconds. 43,200 seconds. 36, 60, and you'll see all the other divisions there. Darren's 1440. And of course, these are in the year as well. This is like just a miniature version of the zodiac cycle, the great year cycle. You got 2,160 years in each zodiac age. 12 ages adds up to 25,920. You got negative 259.2 degrees is the melting point of protium. So we can see this as above, so below concept demonstrated really, really clearly in that.
And the 60 arc seconds, like the 60 seconds of an arc, goes back to ancient times. So I mean, this is not just something you're making up now. Like they used 60 seconds.
Yeah, these are, and I mean, look,
as a way to measure.
People claim exactly. Yeah, these are like self-evident divisions because I had a few people like asking, but these are arbitrary, right? And like they're not. Like if we go back to the Vedic scriptures, lifetime of Brahma is 311 trillion and 40,000 Earth years, which is 8,640,000 Daiva Shakti, just Deva years. And then that's also, if we go to the Bible, I keep trying to click on the wrong image. In the 6 days of creation, we got 31,104,000 arc seconds. And then with, again, same thing, that's 8,640 hours. We've got 31 million.
Yeah, that kind of can't be a coincidence. That can't be a coincidence.
Well, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? And then you got the 4 Platonic seasons, 12 zodiac ages, 25,920 solar years. 1 Platonic season is 3 zodiac ages, 6,480. So see that 648, that's your 864 from the sun shuffled. 1 zodiac age, 2,160 years. And then the moon moves its own diameter of 2,160 miles rather than years every hour. Adding up to 51,840 miles in a day, 5184, double the great year of 25,920. And of course, you these can be slightly off. We've got those 5 extra days and all of that, but it's like Randall says, this is it's an architectural plan. There'll be slight deviations. Once you go and do something, there might be some wind in the area. There might be some rocks in the terrain. There's a feedback mechanism that needs to be accounted for, but there is an architectural plan beneath it that we can see clearly, and it's based on these numbers.
What if it's kind of like a law? What if it was like if the sun was say 10,000 miles or whatever instead of 86 whatever.
Yeah,
we'd have that many seconds in a day instead of as many seconds as we do.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly what this signals, is that time is going to move differently depending on where you are and depending on these rotations, because our whole system of time is based on those celestial rotations. That's where we get our day from, and we see it from our frame of reference, but and that's just where harmonics come into it, is because we play one note and it's not just one note. It's made up of a mathematically determined series, which, is bastardized with our equal temperament tuning that we use these days and based on 440. But if you bring it back to this 432 based system based on this template tuning, which is, I believe, how Pythagoras was actually tuning rather than the ratios, which are secondary, then you can see the harmonics laid out really easily. You can determine them. I mean, look, it's as simple as, like if you, for example, the note A based on 432 hertz, we could say its harmonic series is 1 times 432, 2 times 432, which is 864, 3 times 432, 4 times 432, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is the square of the sun. This is essentially, well, that's just octaves, but you find out the harmonic series, you can just mathematically determine it. That's how everything's going to be moving. And that's what we're seeing going on here. We've got the sun, that might be the fundamental. We've got something going around that. That's got a certain frequency, but that's going to be a harmonic of the fundamental frequency of the sun. And then, we've got smaller bodies rotating those bodies and so on, and down to the fractal scale, because then you can zoom in as well. And that's where we've got these extra axes that people don't really consider, is you've kind of got the going in, like actually going in, like contraction kind of down to the micro. And then you've also got these, XYZ spatial references.
Do you think that these numbers sort of baked into everything signify a higher power or intelligent design?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's undeniable. Like, I think it's either that or we live in a holographic universe that was made by someone. There's some alchemist up there doing this, and even if there was one, it seems like obviously there's going to be a fundamental at some point. Just like there is for every note. You've got your fundamental tuning, then all the harmonics come from that. So that's, I guess, the musical description of God. But I mean, if you look at Malcolm talks about 9 inches and 9, and obviously Marco Rodin talks about 9. This is the whole source of vortex-based maths, and it is the source of the first 9 numbers. All come from the number 9. But it's the handspan of God in the Bible, with which he metes out creation. The span is the span of God's hand. That's what it's based on. You've got it's the span of Krishna's universal form, and this is in Canto 2 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So there's 2 of the most major world scriptures, pretty much, that are saying that 9 inches is the metric for creation. It's the most holy number mentioned in the Baha'i scriptures, and I'm sorry, I can't remember their prophet's name, but you can convert it to 9, essentially. 144,000 faithful followers in the book of Revelation in the Bible, 144 square cubits in the sacred city of Jerusalem, 108 beads on the Japa Mala. Like, it's peppered. And then, of course, if we go back to measurement, people will either say it was arbitrary, and they're idiots. That's not correct. Maybe metric is, but I found a lot of claims that show that it's actually can be converted back into like there is a conversion metric between how they created metric measurements. But if we look at the imperial system and all of the older imperial systems and all of the systems for volume and measurement, like the apothecary system, which was used for medicine, like in pretty much every culture from Greek, Roman, all of the European countries, they just kept using the same apothecary system for all of their weights, all of their volumes for medicine, even when everything else changed. They kept using it for medicine. It's because these harmonic numbers, they matter, like these are harmonic amounts, like what I'm trying to say is then these systems, they're not arbitrary, but they are based on nature. So it is as simple as a span is just, it's the length of a hand. A foot is a foot. An inch is 3 barley grains put together. And that's true, but why do they all add up to these perfect divisions? Why does the inch fit into the foot? Why does the foot fit into the cubit? Why does that all fit into the yard? And why does that fit into the mile? You could just make it up. You could just fit it together, but it's mathematically precise. It's mathematically perfect. And these harmonic measurements, like, this is the programming language of creation. Like, it is intelligent design. That's why 3 barley coins will add up to an inch, and 2 wheat corns will add up to an inch as well. It's, you've got this doubling and tripling embedded in the fundamental fabric of our reality, including all of the cycles of the celestial bodies. And it's not just the diameter of the planet or the amount of time in years, it's also the circumference, of these orbits as well. You will literally, I won't find it now, but there's a document, I can send it to you guys, by a researcher from, I think, the Netherlands, Don Ojic. And I've got to read through some more of his stuff, but he's worked out a lot more of this stuff as well. Going down a lot of the same rabbit holes that Ed Nightingale's been going down with these numbers too. You're on mute.
Thanks. Sorry.
Wah, wah. Did you say Ed Nightingale?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was at the summit as well. And
oh, did you see Ed too, Graham?
Yeah, I got to see Ed. Yeah, well, he didn't have a presentation. He wasn't on stage or anything like that, but he was trying to get a presentation to a bunch of us on the side, but it was just too hard to schedule it in. But the poor guy, we should have him on the show actually, and he can go over some of his latest work. We had him on way back.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Jordan, like back in 2014, 2015 or something like that. We had Ed on.
Nice. Yeah, he's been around for a long time, but I think we're just coming to that point now where his work can be more easily understood now that Randall's been promoting a lot of, these base numbers, and Malcolm has as well, and now I think a bunch of us have kind of we're starting to build up to where Ed Nightingale's found kind of, a lot of these really precise conversions between a lot of the ancient measuring systems. Like, he's correlated a lot of this in quite a profound way.
So how do you connect time to this imperial system then? I mean, I know we kind of went over that already, like we kind of sort of went by it, but just for my own, like, just to hammer it into my own brain, like, can you summarize
the mathematics?
Yeah,
the mathematics creates the link. When you can see that all of this is built on doubling and tripling off this lambda sequence. We have a language that shows us the correlation between all of this. And of course, all of these are frequencies as well. So, 3 hertz, 6 hertz, 12 hertz. This is a musical scale. You've got your octaves going down, and you've got perfect fifths going across, and you can find every musical note there and all the notes of the Western scale. And if you continue building this out further to the right, then you actually start getting microtonal notes, and you can build 24 note scale, and a lot of these other traditional scales. You'll begin to fill in gaps and get even more notes, so you could use it to tune a sitar even, and it's just doubling and tripling. But that is, of course, what our universe is it's a sitar. Everything can be identified in octaves, perfect fifths, and harmonics to each other.
And I guess
it's the relations.
And I guess that's why Malcolm kept repeating, like, the moon moves the diameter in an hour. The diameter of itself in an hour, because that's the direct thing right there. So an hour and that sacred number of 2160, and then that's sort of really
that's so much more important.
Pretty good connection right there, right?
Yeah, this is so much more important than any technical explanation I could give, because it just explains all of our history, all of it. This gives us the key, the language. These numbers, we can see them they're the self-evident part, which you can just go out and look for them, and you'll find them every fucking where, like everywhere. They're not really skipped out of any culture or every civilization. 1080, the moon's radius.
Oh yeah, the 108 goes. It's crazy the way the celestial mechanics incorporate the 108. It's not just in spiritual stuff. It seems to be like hard encoded into our
encoded into geometry, into our solar system. The sun and the moon's average distance from Earth, 108 times their respective diameters in miles. But yeah, I mean, the link between time and space, it's just that, it's the numbers. It's the fact that we determine time because of that rate of movement, the frequency of how many times it orbits within a given period. And then we've made our divisions based on that and the movement of those celestial bodies. And so, we're looking at space and we're turning it into time.
I think that's the way to look at it.
That shouldn't explain why the seconds in the day match the diameter of the sun in miles.
Well, that's the harmonics.
That's how it connects, right?
That's what I think. I agree. That's how it connects. I think harmonics is a nice way to put it. So here's a bit of a curveball for you before we start to wrap up. What about, have you ever considered that? I mean, because we're into the field of intelligent design, so why not go a little further and of putting the Earth back at the middle of this thing?
Just how do you mean? Just like being more Earth-centric about
like geocentrism.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, it's got its use. It's just like we've got these two, everything has kind of two considerations, right? Like, this is where you get that yin and yang, masculine and feminine. And like, we've got a helical consideration where everything's kind of corkscrewing, this is that movement forward, that forward trajectory. And then we've also got a radial consideration, so we're just like looking at everything moving around us in Earth like a clock, and that's the clock face. That's what that represents. We just take it for granted, but this is an archetypal form, built on our cosmos. And it's, so we look at that radial trajectory from the geocentric perspective. And that's why all of the old astronomers and astrologers did that, is because then we can make determinations based on that. And of course it ignores that helical trajectory, because ultimately the Earth is orbiting the sun's orbiting another point, but it's important to know what's happening from our frame of reference, isn't it? Right? It's kind of like scientists always seem to want to view things from the perspective of God himself, and you're just kind of like, well, maybe that's not as useful to you. Maybe that's why in ancient times they were able to actually see how the cosmos, the as above, affected us on Earth, because they took a little more note. They were a little more geocentric about it. So I'm all for it. Yeah, let's use geocentric calculations.
Yeah, this is actually from the Tychos model, which is more of a geoaxial thing, but they think that part of the reason for the moon's precise movement every hour and stuff like that is because it's actually the moon's the whole thing that's pumping this whole sort of solar system around. It's like the
drive shaft.
And they call it the drive shaft here, but
well, it is, isn't it? Really, like it's the small kind of gear there. Malcolm calls it the metronome because it is driving our scale of time. Certainly.
Wow. That's what it looks like. That's what I think they might have even called it that at one point.
Yeah,
Somebody built a model, a website model on this Tychos thing, and it's quite incredible the way it moves.
Cool. Yeah. I'd like to see that. They're coming up with some really good visual models of what I'm talking about with that gyroscopic movement going on. Because I was really surprised because I came at it from that angle and just kind of like looked at it and I was like, well, that's how it works. And then I found a few other guys that thought that same thing, including Randall and Ed and Brad, and they kind of intuitively already understood that, and we're obviously, maybe you all were. I just didn't really know because I hadn't looked into it, and then I found out that they hadn't determined that it was a gyroscopic motion in kind of mainstream astrophysics. But it seems like that idea is coming in now, and most people are accepting it. That we can clearly see, the moon orbiting the Earth, and then the Earth orbiting the sun, and then why wouldn't the sun be also moving and around another point?
This model says that the Earth is not orbiting the sun. That the sun and the sun and the moon are sort of orbiting each other. So the sun and the sun and Mars. Mars is the sun.
Oh, okay.
So here it is. Here it is, right here, basically.
So is this pure? Oh, so that's still heliocentric, right? Or it's kind of. Oh no, it is geocentric. Or maybe I'm just the wrong way. Yeah.
So, but it's all sort of locked into Earth. So they call it actually geoaxial system, and it's
all right. That's something else. Yeah.
Yeah, it's real, dude. I mean, I've been going down this rabbit hole. I went to the conference over in Europe. I mean, it makes so much sense. It's a little bit crazy. I'm sort of still drip feeding it to Randall. I'm frozen. Ah, God damn it.
I can hear you, Darren. I can hear you.
I know you can hear me. Yeah, I figured so. I figured Jordan's is Jordan down under?
Sorry, I couldn't see you.
That's okay. No, I'm still drip feeding this to Randall, but I keep coming back to this Tychos model. It's starting to make a lot more sense to me than the heliocentric stuff. It really is. I
just think they're both there. We have to see from two different perspectives. That's the difference. When people are going like, how does the time correlate with space? That's all it is. This is a different perspective. It's a different viewpoint, and they're both kind of there, you just have to decide
it's different because they've got like the Earth only moves at 1 mile an hour. It moves at 1 mile an hour. That's how fast the Earth is moving through space, and everything else is sort of moving faster than that. The outer planets are moving at the speeds we think they are, and that's why they don't have life on them, and the Earth does. That's what sort of makes the Earth special, not unique. It looks like Sirius is the same sort of a system, but it really, because when I'm listening to this Tycho stuff, I'm thinking of all these sacred numbers, right? And it's like, well, shit, man, all these sacred numbers start to make a lot more sense if they're just like laws. It's just laws of this system that lock it into place.
That is what they are. Yeah.
Like 1 mile an hour doing too, right? Like
1 mile an hour makes a lot more sense to me in how we can maintain an atmosphere. You know what I mean? It makes a lot of just sort of that stuff. In some ways I feel like I'm meeting the flat earthers halfway. Trust me, this ain't easy for me to go down either, because I've been like a space nut. that's been my thing my whole life. And all of a sudden at 40, I'm like, shit, man, this Tycho stuff is blowing my mind. And I, the more I try and just sort of disprove it to get out of it, it just keeps sort of grabbing me in. You find out that all these alignments, they're sort of fudging the numbers on a little bit in the standard model. So it just becomes, it's really sort of seeping in. And the mile an hour makes sense to me on how I'm still looking at the same fucking stars that my ancestors did 10,000 years ago. If we're going through space at 90 times the speed of sound, I feel like the night sky would have to be at least a little more fluid than it is.
Yeah. Well, speed of light, speed of sound, they're variable. Once again, depends on where you're viewing them from. Well, and they're not relative; they're harmonic. It's all working as a system. But yeah,
well, that's what I mean. I feel like this Tychos can slide right in there with the Randall stuff and the Bendall stuff and the Terrence Howard stuff, and it could be. I feel like part of it could be this missing thing is that that's this other thing we're having a real hard time letting go of, because religion has tainted it so much to the point that none of us can just, we can't do it. We can't go back to Earth being in the middle. We just can't. That's the new fucking heresicism, or that's the new, you can't do that. It's like it's a third rail for a lot of those people, because they'll just start. I mean, Randall starts calling about floods and Earth at the middle. He just sounds like a crazy creationist.
Well, because it's not, and you're not saying it's necessarily Earth centric. It's like a binary thing that happens to be, the Earth happens to be. It happens to
be, dude, because now the latest stuff on the Tycho stuff is that it has to be there. The Earth has to be there. It's an instrumental part. It's not actually a binary system. It's a trinary system that the Earth is. So the Earth and the Moon are involved in the whole thing.
But is that why the Earth is so special and we have life?
Yeah, exactly. And those are the only systems that can support life. And it looks like the only other one we really know of is Sirius, which for me, being Sirius has been coming up for me for 10 or 11
But what
years.
do we term as life,
Well, intelligent life, which I think there's a real possibility that carbon evolves to be bipedal human-like, and that's,
Yeah, we are definitely, we're carbon-based.
Yeah, and I feel, so I think there's room to say that, like, any other people you find are going to be sort of human too. Like a carbon, we are I hate to call us the pinnacle, but we're on the trajectory of carbon life, and carbon life sort of follows that same somewhat trajectory, at least to become intelligent on the high end of it.
That's true. I mean, Bob shows that the fractal toroidal moment is, it can be shown in the human face and the human body, and our whole forum, of course, Da Vinci noted this and many others as well. We are made in the form of God, essentially. That's where we're getting that handspan from.
Is volume one in your presentation as a sacred? Is that something they were paying attention at? I just wanted to check on that before we run out of time here.
Let's have a gaze.
Try and shift your. I've got you on the screen, but it's not there again. So maybe if you click slides, it might come on or something. Or...
Okay, I'm clicking around.
It's not working.
Traditional systems of volume.
Nada.
All right. Well, it's pretty simple. Like if we want to look at even, the modern ones, Ed Nightingale, his book has a lot of the correlations with the ancient ones, and it gets a bit more complex once you get into like royal qubits and root qubits and stuff. But if we just go simple, UK imperial system, 1864 to 1971, and this is pretty much the same, or it's very close. They've used different harmonic numbers actually, but the US one from 1809 to 1864, we got 1 pint, 16 fluid ounces, 128 fluid dram, 384 fluid scruple, 7,680 minim, and then we've got one in the new imperial system in the UK, 1 imperial gallon, 8 imperial pints, 160 fluid ounce. Then, of course, the numbers get more complex. We've got 1,280, 128 hertz is, below middle C on the piano, 38,400 minimum. Of course, 384 again, 96,000 minimum. We've got 96. You just see these numbers repeating again and again. in those systems. And then there's the apothecaries. Oh no, sorry, that is weights actually. On the other one I had in there, but you see the same thing: 288 scribbles, 5760 grain, and again, all based on grains and human finger lengths, and the weight of real life stuff. It's just that stuff is actually produced on this programming language. These are the laws, and so it's both based on measuring a foot, and it's also based on an inherent mathematical system that governs our universe.
Seems to. At the very least, it seems to.
And all of geometry, right? Like if you look at the Platonic solids, we see the same thing: tetrahedron, 720 degrees, 4 faces of 180 degrees, 12 angles.
And the 9 too. The 9 shows up in every one of those, right? And all the angles.
They're all divisible by 9. And so if you take that table, you can reduce everything but the first 2 columns down to 9.
Try again.
Oh, can you see it now?
No, but try again.
Just keep trying. Come on, it'll work, baby. Come on.
Hopefully, can you see any version of the table there?
No, nothing's on there. Nothing.
That's
the first time this is ever.
Well, anyway, everything but the first 2 columns can be reduced to 9, and you'll see that 9 is the root. So you just add the numbers up. Like for example, 108, 1 plus 8 is a polar number pair is 9. 216, 2 plus 1 plus 6. 9. 432, 4 plus 3 plus 2, 9. 864, 8 plus 6 is 14 plus 2 is 16. That can't be right. 8 plus 6 plus 4. Is that right? 14. Oh no, 14 plus 4. 1 plus 8 is 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. The first column reduces to 124875, 124875, which is the doubling sequence from vortex-based maths, and then the G column, the second column, all reduces to 363636, which is the 2 extremes of your field. Like these are your 2 aspects of polarity. The 9 is your hyperspatial element, kind of the trajectory of the 0 point. It's kind of like, I guess, maybe the radius, you could say, almost of like a bit of a sphere. Do you call that a radius still? I don't know. Yeah.
Are you going to do this presentation? Are you going to do this presentation in full on your channel at some point, or have you already?
Yeah, I am going to do that. I'm going to do that next week. So
okay, good.
Yeah. We won't go through this too much more because I'll go through all of that.
Yeah, let me know when it does, and I'll point to it. And we'll talk about it on one of our shows, because it really does put everything into perspective as far as time goes. Yeah.
I hope it moves things a little closer to unification.
Yeah. Are you pretty excited about the future now then? I mean, with everything going on?
Yeah. No, I'm very excited. It's all happening, We're it's kind of the end of the beginning of the beginning of the second phase.
Yeah.
So it's all looking positive, and we'll be coming with lots more stuff, and it's going to be crazier and crazier.
Beginning of some things and the others. But I mean, I'm excited. George, is there anything you feel like we didn't get to that we should get to before we start to wrap up?
No, I think we covered a fair bit of ground there. Yeah.
We did.
Thanks
Where
questions.
Where can people find all your stuff? I mean, Alchemical Science, obviously. Where can people, what are the URLs? Some people read the show notes, some people won't. It'll all be there, but it's always good to just get that URL out here.
Yeah, so that's youtube.com/alchemical science. Very easy to remember. Go and subscribe. Plenty more Cosmic Summit footage to come. About 30 videos talking about plasmoids, a couple about VBM. Lots of fun stuff. That's where you'll find me.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. This has been great. We appreciate you working with us on the timing. We had a bit of a timing fiasco, but it all worked out. So, yeah, big thanks for coming on the show, and we hope to see you real soon.
Absolute pleasure. Catch you guys later.
See you, buddy.
Ciao. And that was our chat with Jordan Collin, Alchemical Science. YouTube, what'd you think?
Well, I mean, there's a bit of a delay there with, I don't know if it's his internet or Australia or just the time and space difference between our continents. But
Australia has
an internet problem.
yeah, they seem to have an internet problem. They
I
really do.
wonder if he was on Elon's thing. I mean, but anyways, I mean, so hopefully it's not too bad for the listeners and too bad for everybody as far as audio quality goes. And of course, we've never had problems with we did a test before we did it, and like so some reason the presentations wouldn't share. It would share sporadically. That's kind of weird too, but I don't know.
Can you get Starlink in the Southern Hemisphere yet?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't either. I always wonder if it's got to do something with my angle of the earth that I'm getting. If I should be like moving my dish a little bit here and there to get like, because maybe some people don't care if you just Netflix and stuff, but when I've got a lot going on, I need premium connection. So maybe there's a way to prioritize that.
Yeah, for a couple hours a night, you need it to. Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah, it's interesting how that all works out. I mean, the two thing is a trick. Because you listen to Weinstein and Howard, I listen to that too.
What two thing? Oh, the number 2.
Well, 2 is a weird number because it's the only one that the square root of 2. Because so like you do the square root of 49 is 7. So 7 sevens is 49. You do the square root of 16 is 4. So 4 fours is 16. You could do the square root of 9 is 3. 3 threes is 9. You do the square root of 4 is 2. So 2 twos.
Square root of 2 is
1.4.
The square root of 2 is 1.4?
Yes.
Huh. So that's the big controversy is like, why is this different?
Yeah. Well, that's what Terrence says is wrong with their math. It is an interesting conundrum.
But they just gloss over it, right? Like he doesn't agree. Like he would listen to him and then just come back and say that you're wrong about that. Just like he was wrong about the other thing too. And it's like, well, like you haven't really acknowledged why, like it's still a problem, isn't it? In the maths?
It seems to be a problem.
And I just don't like how when he was showing his models, that linchpin type thing, like if you listen to it, you miss some of the visuals, but he was handing those things around. And honestly, I wish they did a better job setting things up. They weren't like even ready for the presentation type thing on there. Joe should have been fucking ready to present all that. They wasted a lot of time trying to figure shit out logistically, which was a bit frustrating. But he's talking about that space between and the ether between the bubbles, like that when you take that away, that there's an energy that fills in that sort of gap. And I think that's what the whole thing should have been about, is how this relates to, you know, some sort of 0 point or free energy thing that he could never get to because fucking Eric kept telling him to stop teaching and, oh, you can't go there. Like he would never let him get through that analogies into where he was trying to go, you know?
Eric, the chosen person to hear
Eric, the chosen gatekeeper
to save us from himself.
Yeah, because he's the UFO gatekeeper too, right? He's been tapped. He admitted he was tapped on the shoulder to go after the UFO problem.
You listen to the one where he said that the Jews were responsible for shepherding us through this atomic.
Yeah. I tried to find a clip of it.
I'm so convinced
that
him and his brother are Mossad.
Yeah.
They honeypotted Joe.
Yeah. I mean, and then he just, you know, he's good enough. He's a good enough thespian to be with all the talking, and he goes around in circles and he has to explain everything to the point where you're just like, shut the fuck up and get to the point already. But he's good enough at doing that he can gatekeep and make it seem like he's open to it all, or the scientific community is open to it, because he bashes the scientific community like he should, but he still doesn't let Terrence get to the real meat. He's just talking about his little toys and, oh yeah, they're nice and you're a beautiful artist. And if anything, you know, you've made some beautiful toys here. Fuck off, Eric. It's deeper than that. Get to it. Somebody's flying around in the big black triangles, Eric. Get to the fucking bottom of it.
The big black triangles. You always get back to the big black.
That's right. I mean, that's what my go-to is. Like, there's humans flying around in big, quiet, big black triangles.
BBG.
And Eric's been tapped on the shoulder. So go figure it out, Eric.
That's why they call you Gape and Graham. I have to agree. He did come off as a little obnoxious. It was a
Like
bit
the first half was fine, but then after a while, you're like, oh fuck, okay.
because they were drinking. As
They
soon as they
hardly-
like,
I mean,
as soon as they broke out the whiskey, I was like, oh boy, here we go. Dude, if I had a couple drinks of whiskey on the Joe Rogan Experience, I'd be going to jail.
I felt bad for Terrence. He got fucking handled. He got handled.
That nigga got handled. Grimerica.ca/support, guys, if you can, when you can. We are, of course.
And he was so
all
nice
that-
about it. He was so nice about it. You know,
He's
he was
nice.
all polite and nice and okay, I'll listen to you. You can help
Little
me with my
rapey.
papers. And
He's a little rapey sometimes, but other than that, he seems like a nice
did you watch the clip of Terrence? I mean, I want to play it right now. Did you watch the clip of Terrence in the wig that Joe was talking about at the beginning of the show? Where he was in that interview and he's talking about how he's an actor and some people just pretend that they're how did he describe it? Some actors, do you remember how he described the first part of it?
He basically said he gets himself possessed.
But he goes into the mirror, goes in the dark, he fucking sees himself change, and he basically takes on some other fucking thing, like a demon or some kind of possession, and that's how he acts. Like that's how he does it. So I mean, that was just a crazy clip. I mean,
You'd think he'd be a better actor.
he's pretty good. He's pretty good.
You think he'd be like the
I
best.
mean, maybe he did that to go on Joe. Did he do that to go on Joe show? Is this all an act? Is he being possessed when he's on there talking about his linchpin and everything?
If this is like some devil's advocate shit, he should be like, you know, should be just the best actor, right? He's just
maybe they all do it. I mean, maybe the
devil's advocate, but he's just like
maybe the bar is pretty high because that's just the thing that all of them do.
The devil wants to just be a B-lister. You're possessed by like whatever.
Get kicked out of
one of the shitty
Marvel universe. Like you only make one movie in the Marvel universe and that's it. I mean, come on.
Not Archangel Michael, just one of the shitty ones you never heard of. Yeah. Fallen Angel or something. Like looks like Borderlands. He's one of the best. Come on, Curtis. Who are you kidding? He's not one of the best. Anyway, Grimerica.ca/support, guys, if you can, when you can. If you're getting some value from our little show here, for some reason, YouTube won't let us have money anymore. But you guys can still head there, support us directly. Grimerica.ca/support. All out there, all for free. If you do like it, just head over there, throw us $1, throw us $2, throw us $100, throw us $1,000. You decide. And the Sacred Geometry International guy's talking shit on Twitter tonight. That's nice. Grandma will be triggered now. He's gonna have to go check it out. I abstain.
I haven't seen him lately. Maybe I blocked him or something. I don't know.
Just block him and be done with it. Anyway, Grimerica.ca/support. Of course, check out our other podcast, GrimericaOutlawed.ca, for some more controversial stuff. Let's check out AdultBrain.ca for all the audiobooks that we've done. 130 some audiobooks out there for now, and more coming. We got finally contact@thecabin.com. We got some great trips coming up. One with Randall Carlson, who we talked about a little earlier, doing the Columbia River Gorge thing. And we got our own event in Invermere. There's some add-ons where you can go hunting or do some psychedelics. So check that out. Contact@thecabin.com. Graham and I will be there in Invermere, holding you up with some Canadian hospitality. All right, guys. Other than that, we love you guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.